Hey, welcome back, fellow creators. Thanks for joining me today. I've got a little bit of a riddle or a puzzle for you, a bit of an odd question. How do you succeed with photography on a video platform like TikTok while still uploading images to the platform? Well, in today's video, Alex Stemp, one of TikTok's most notable photographers, is going to put all those puzzle pieces together as he shares his story on how he developed his profile from 0 to coming up on 20 million followers in just a little over a year and a half. Alex is such a great example, as we'll soon find out from the thoughts he has to share, that there really isn't a magic snap decision, one-size-fits-all formula for success on TikTok. Alex didn't try to growth hack the process by fitting all the common stereotypical molds that you see. In fact, as you'll soon find out, he actually went against what the masses were doing in many respects and was constantly seeking to improve his structure and always was open to new ideas. So I don't want to spoil too much in advance, but I will say there's lots of little gold nuggets of information that Alex was willing to share. If you're interested in jumping ahead, I'll link the timestamps to our discussion down below this video, but take my word for it, you're probably going to want to watch this interview in its full entirety. It'll be well worth your while. Welcome back, fellow creators, to another episode of Let's Talk TikTok. Today, I have the wonderful privilege of interviewing Alex Stemp. So Alex is one of those who I truly believe to be one of those exceptional creators on the rise, who's really mastered the TikTok craft and has, over this past year and a half or so, really witnessed massive exposure, particularly in the photography landscape. He jumped on the platform, he saw, and he captured the attention of over 18.6 million fans. And so, Alex, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be here. I reached out to you because I love your YouTube channel. I love the thoroughness and the passion for that you have for TikTok. So happy to talk TikTok.
Sure. And I know you come from kind of an analytical, data-oriented background as well. So I'm really curious to hear your insights when it comes to things like the algorithm. I mean, the obvious video performance, what it takes to achieve, quote unquote, virality on the platform. But I thought we would start things off by just a little bit of history and profile context, if you will, for your journey on the platform. From what I read about, a couple of PR features on you, you're an avid follower of Gary Vee, and you kind of took his action and advice on getting started on TikTok. So what were your intentions with the platform initially? I mean, was this like an extension of your photography portfolio? Was this like a lead generation avenue? I'm super curious.
I got on TikTok strictly because of Gary Vee. A lot of people actually kind of did the same thing. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to make short form videos. All I knew was that Gary Vee was really, really hyped up about this app called TikTok. And he made 3 separate videos that were entirely about, you have to join TikTok. You have to join it because the exposure on this app is mind blowing. And, I joined the app, but I didn't really post anything for a month. But, like you said, I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. And when he is excited about something, I trust him and I just go for it. So even though I'd never made a short form video, I felt resistance because I was a photographer. I'm used to posting still photos on Instagram. Making videos was something new and foreign. I'm like, look, if Gary Vee is making 3 videos about how amazing this app is, I'm going to give it a go. So it was literally just my trust in him saying that this was a special app that got me started.
One thing I want to add to piggyback on what you said with Gary Vee is, so I'm not sure if I saw every single video in which he advocated for TikTok, but one of the biggest things that I think he shared that I found very insightful was his perspective about the skill set you walk away with TikTok, the fact that we're having this transition in the social media landscape to short form, bite-sized, concentrated content. And what he said, and I'm paraphrasing in brevity, but he said the idea of you learning that skill set to communicate in 15 seconds is something that you're always going to have with you, whether or not TikTok is around in the social media market in a year's time, which was obviously that dubiousness of the platform was kind of in people's minds. And then that was kind of confirmed in August, or was it June of 2020 when supposedly the platform was going to be banned, and we saw a lot of people jumping ship. But here it is today. And, obviously we have people that have really broken through the cracks like yourself. And I'm curious a little bit too. I know a lot of your content is reaction based, and for anyone watching who's not familiar with Alex, I don't do it justice describing it. You've got to see it for yourself. But a lot of it is these spontaneous confrontations in public, where you're going up to someone and you're asking a stranger to take a photo of them. A lot of those ideas, are they so thought up on the fly, or do you pre-structure a lot of that content?
It's about 50-50. Half the time I will come up with the concept and just do my best to execute it on it. And an example of that would be, we wanted to transform a stranger into Harley Quinn. and I brought a cosplayer friend of mine who does the Joker. So the concept was, let's go find a stranger. Let's turn them into Harley Quinn. I had a special effects makeup artist. We had the costume ready for the stranger. So that was fully thought out before we went out there to shoot that one. But I have tons of videos where it's off the cuff, like just completely spontaneous and thought of when I actually meet the stranger. And an example of that would be a trip in Miami that I took. I was just walking around, just looking for people. What I do is so spontaneous in nature. Like, I don't know who I'm going to meet, for one. I don't know where I'm going to meet them. So if I meet some random stranger in some random part of Miami that I've never been to, I have to think of like, what can I do with this individual right now to create a viral video? So in Miami, I found this guy who was like, he was massive, like really, really muscular. He had really cool long hair. And when I saw him, you know, we had to think of like, in my mind, I'm like, how can I make a viral video with a viral photo shoot with this guy? So, you know, I just had him like stand in the middle of the street, like flexing and like stopping traffic. And I made this really fun video for people. So, you know, none of that was planned. All of that was thought of like starting from the second that I found this guy.
Yeah, well, props to you for taking those one-time interactions and you know, turning it to something worthy of 18 million views. I do have to add though, you know, I was watching a lot of your videos right before this, and you know, I've been familiar with your content for a while now, but I've been so amazed as well. You know, you've got this seemingly this barroom pitch of convincing strangers with just one photo. You know, you'll go up to them and you'll ask to take a photo of them, right? And you'll show you know, a little what I assume is like a, you know, portfolio of your work. I'm just curious, what's the ratio of people that, you know, maybe turn you down and, you know, don't get to make it into a video?
It depends on the concept that I'm pitching to them. If it's something like, can I turn you into Harley Quinn? That's going to take like an hour. So the rejection rate on that was like, I think it took me 4 people to get one of them to say yes. So you can expect like, you know, 1 out of 4 people to say yes if it's like an hour long, like fully like full-blown makeover and like whole thing. But if it's just, hey, can I take some photos of you and I'm going to give you free photos, the percentage of yeses on that is really high, especially since like, you know, I have a nice portfolio to show them. And who's going to turn down a free like photo shoot, you know, if it only takes a few minutes.
Speaking of that, I mean, have you had anyone recognize you? I mean, I'm sure in public, but any people that you've approached that have recognized your TikTok, and are you showing them your TikTok when you reference your work?
Yeah, so it depends on the individual that I'm approaching. If it's a younger person, I'll show them my TikTok. If it's an older person, I'll show them my Instagram, because I don't trust that the older generation has caught on to TikTok as much as the younger people. So yeah, I'll show them either my TikTok page or my Instagram page. And what was the first question you asked?
Has anyone recognized you exclusively from TikTok?
Those are the best interactions, is when I approach someone and they're already a fan. Like they're already smiling as they see me walk up to them, because they recognize me. They know what I'm about to ask them. And yeah, those are really memorable and fun interactions when they recognize me already.
I know one of your initial series that you had along those same lines was the taking photos of strangers. That was one of I think out of your first 10 videos, there were a few of those. I'm curious, can you walk me through, because I know there's been this dramatic transformation from what you're uploading recently. I know your most latest video as of us recording this is the one where you're taking the picture of the bride on the pier, I believe. But obviously, you know, there is a big difference between that and then the initial taking photos of strangers series. So how have you tweaked and enhanced that video structure?
By a lot, you know, it's I'll try and think of like specific ways from taking it to version 1 to like whatever version I'm at now. But it essentially started with me filming on a chest camera that just strapped to my chest, and I filmed it like point of view style, which wasn't really engaging because you couldn't see me walking up to them, which is kind of the exciting part. Like seeing someone walk up to another stranger is exciting to watch. So that POV like style, it didn't really work out. So, you know, that was like version 1. Then I had a friend film me walking up to them with an iPhone, and that just made all the difference. So that was a really good starting point. The way that I have evolved my content, the source of those tweaks and evolutions come from either viewer feedback, which means I'm reading the comments and I'm trying to understand like, what did people like? What did people not like? and just using that to inform the structure of the next video. So when I first started, for example, people wanted to see how the strangers reacted to their photos. I wasn't showing that at first. So people would just comment, you know, hey, I want to see how they reacted to the photo. So that became version 2, is now I show the reaction to them seeing their photo. And then I show them the photos in the video as well. So I'm always reading the comments to understand, like, what do people like? What do they not like? And I'm really using that information to like modify the structure of my video. But also it comes down to always wanting to improve your content and never settling. Like, I'm never satisfied, and I never feel like I've arrived at like the perfect format. My mindset is I always have to level it up. Mm-hmm. So the other source of these modifications just come from myself. Like, I sit and brainstorm and I ask myself, how can I make this video better? How do I make it more engaging? How do I get that watch time up? You know, what can I do? What's the bigger concept?
Yeah, I love that. That's got to be too one of the most, I think, healthiest mindsets you can have, especially in the creator space, because there are times, and I feel this as well, even in my own individual creative endeavors, where you'll just get caught up in this cycle of outputting content or checking the box, whatever your output frequency is. And you often get caught in this hamster wheel of not actually focusing on, like you said, leveling up things, or even if it's just 1% each time, right? 100 videos down the line, you'll be 100% better than you were, 100 days ago. So I think that's awesome. And I do have to say, on your note of reactions, I think, at least in my opinion, what's one of the reasons why I think the videos have done so well is because you're filming these raw, real human reactions in public. And it's almost so tangible for people because, you're on the sidewalk in New York City, or, you're in LA. And it just feels, it's that real immersive environment of what people see on a daily basis. And there's something about that style of content on TikTok that's not scripted, that's not exclusively a song and dance routine, that just feels more organic and kind of has that viral feel to it just by the way it's filmed. Yes. I mean, any thoughts on the way you've structured content? Yeah. Is there kind of like a mold that you like to fit with videos, or you just kind of wing it each time?
I'm big on structure and thoughtfulness when you think about, like, how do you make a viral successful TikTok? The structure is very important. And one of the things that I tell people is to try to have an incentive to watch until the end of the video. If there's no incentive, if there's no reward or prize at the end of the video, it's going to become very easy for someone to just swipe that video away. So the structure of my video is really effective at getting people to watch to the end, which becomes really, really important for, the algorithm. You have to get that watch time high if you want to go viral. So the way I've structured my videos is by starting with a strong hook, in that I'm approaching a random stranger. So people immediately sort of get interested and intrigued. Like, what's this guy going to do walking up to this random stranger right now? The middle of my video is meant to keep people engaged, but also to make them curious and invested to see the outcome of what I'm doing, right? So that's where I'm building that watch to the end incentive. I want people in the middle of my video to go, I got to see what this photo looked like at the end. So, that's what I want people to feel while they're in the middle of my video, is I got to get to the end of this so I can see the photos, right? So that structure is extremely effective at getting people to complete your video, getting the watch time high, because I throw the photo at the very end of my video. It's a brilliant structure. And this structure can be used in like any niche, any genre, of just like incentivizing, hooking people first and incentivizing them to get to the end of the video to see that result, or to get that reward that you promised them.
With those photos you were mentioning, have you had any, I'm just curious, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but with these, these making strangers, famous ideas to your video, have you ever had any like problems or consequences with maybe some of these videos going much more viral than you expected? And, maybe the initial model not being super comfortable with it or anything like that?
Do you mean in terms of like the structure not working, or like having a video go viral and then just kind of like it kind of backfiring in some way?
Yeah, I mean, people saying, okay, well, maybe because I think one of the appeals, and you touched upon this earlier, to your entire idea of approaching people is you're giving them this this free exposure, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Has that anyone ever seen the ramifications of that on your feed, seen the video do super well, and ask you to take it down or anything like that?
Oh, actually, I can think of 2 examples. One of them was a couple that I photographed who broke up, and
Mm.
it was a very good video, like one of my best videos. It got like 10 million views in like 12 hours. And, you know, I like reposting that video on different platforms like my Instagram, Reels, YouTube Shorts. The couple broke up. So one day the girl from the couple reached out and they're like, hey, can you not post this video because we're no longer together? So that's one, that was one instance, but it rarely happens. I think that's the only case I can think of where I removed the video because the stranger was like, I don't want this viral video anymore.
Speaking of events in the photography landscape, I know a lot of your videos are based on collaborations with other well-known TikTok creators, and you've got other influencers as well. Throughout the entire trajectory of growing your profile, how really important do you think those collaborations have been, and just expanding awareness of who you are on the platform?
I think that collaborations can be extremely effective, but I fell into such a specific like format and niche where it's me walking up to a random stranger and giving them a photo shoot. That was like my bread and butter format. So actually introducing collaborations for my content was difficult at first because I can't walk up to an influencer. They're not a stranger. Like, unless I literally randomly bump into an influencer on the street, which does happen, like I can't really just, my content loses its like wow effect if it's like a scheduled photo shoot with an influencer. Like, that's not what made me stand out in the first place. It was the fact that I'm taking random people and like nobodies, people with no social media following, and kind of giving them the spotlight. So I couldn't figure out collaborations for the longest time. So for me, it was actually not instrumental at all for my growth. I really relied on like my own little format that I discovered and created. But for other people, I've seen collaborations be extremely successful because you can tap into other sides of TikTok. Like, when I think of TikTok, I think of these little pockets, these little spaces and worlds within TikTok. And, you know, my content sits in one world where people are interested in photography and this like general, like stranger uplifting type of content. And for me to get into this other world of TikTok, I can't necessarily break through into that with my own content because it's so different. So I would have to do a collaboration with someone in that other environment so that I can get exposure and be introduced to like a new audience that wouldn't typically be shown my content on their feed. But yeah, so, you know, it can be extremely effective, but it wasn't instrumental in my growth.
Sure. I'm also curious, and maybe I should have asked this a little bit earlier, but what really has been the trajectory of your growth? I mean, what was the actual date that you got started on TikTok, and what were, in your opinion, the big milestones, whether individual videos or I don't know, you know, people shouting you out on different profiles that really, you know, spurred you on to you know, coming up on 20 million followers here?
Yeah. Well, I joined TikTok in October. I did my first video in November. So it took me a month to finally get going. Let me break it down like this. The first video that I ever felt went viral was one where I walked up to these two strangers in San Francisco and gave them a little photo shoot. It got 10,000 views. I had about 10 followers at the time. So to me, getting 10,000 views while only having 10 followers is a very impressive reach, because I'm like, that's a lot more people than I have following me. So I was immediately hooked on TikTok from that point on. And I was like, whoa, I went mega viral. 10,000 was a huge number to me. But I didn't even understand the power of TikTok until my friend posted a video that I had actually filmed the behind the scenes for, where he was approaching a stranger. We were just doing the same thing, basically. His got 1 million views. And that's where like my mind was blown. And that's where I literally remember saying that this is the day that changes my life. It wasn't even on my page. It was his video that blew up. But since we were making the same content, I knew that it would happen to me too. I just had that feeling. So I'm like, this is the day that will change my life forever. Because 1 million people, if you really think about that, is that's a massive number, right? To be able to,
and it's so funny too with TikTok. Yeah. I've mentioned this previously, but it's like, I feel that, you know, social media culture has been jaded and cheapened so much by feeling that even 100,000 followers is like now the baseline standard that people expect within, you know, 3 months on the platform. Partially because, you know, we do see these breakout examples of creators that are anomalies, you know, more often than not. But it's just representative of where we're headed in the social media market, for better, for worse.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you, and it's kind of sad because, you know, people don't appreciate the amount of reach and the amount of people that they're touching with their content. Like 1 million people is an unfathomable number to me. So when that happened, I'm like, okay, this is going to happen to me. So I think 2 more videos later that I posted, I had my first video that hit 1 million views. I gained 100,000 followers in a day. And I'm just sold on TikTok. The first month, I had 1 million followers in 30 days after posting. And I just grew 1 million followers every single month after that. And then I actually quit my job 3 months in after I had 3 million followers. I quit my job. I was working as an insurance actuary. And I left the corporate job, like a really, really high paying salary job, to like pursue TikTok at that point.
And when you said October, November, was that of 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
Okay. Yeah. So we're coming up on almost 2 years on the platform, and close to 20 million followers in 2 years. That's not a bad curation of an audience. And I mean, in the meantime, what kind of opportunities have opened up for you because of TikTok? I know you recently did, what was it, a brand deal with Samsung, I think, on one of your most recent videos. I mean, from a brand deal perspective, from a creative opportunity, from collaborations, like what are really the big milestones for opportunities?
It's crazy, man. Like, my world has completely changed from having this social media following in ways that I never would have imagined. Like, sometimes I get caught up in the day to day and like how many things I have to do. And then I take a step back and I realize like how grateful I am for having this lifestyle now where I'm creating content for a living. The simple fact that I no longer have to go to that office job that I didn't have any passion for, I didn't like. And now I get to wake up and I get to create content that I love. And that's my living. That's my life. I'm so grateful for that alone, that it's just the most amazing thing. But to take that even further, the brand deals that I've been getting, the monetary opportunities I didn't expect it was possible to make this much, like to make a lot of money on social media. I just didn't understand it, and one of my opportunities, a big one, was a syndicated show on Snapchat. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know you could generate ad revenue on short form videos. So that was a huge win for me. I secured a 12-month partnership with Samsung. So being backed by a big company like that's just sponsoring me for a whole year it's so huge, and it's so special to me. So like the monetary opportunities have been immense. And another really cool thing is it's allowed me to like connect with so many people. Like an example is I just watched the show MasterChef, and one of the chefs on there, after the show ended, I wanted to look up everyone on Instagram to see what they were doing. One of them who I was really rooting for, his name was Nick. I saw he was doing well on Instagram. So I just shot him a DM like, hey man, like really love what you're doing. And, he answered just because, I'm an established creator now. Like my messages usually get opened by people that I reach out to. So I'm able to just send a DM to someone that I saw on TV. And the next thing you know, we're planning a video together. So it's just crazy how like the world opens up to you like that, just from, being an established creator and people maybe seeing your video once. You can really connect with a lot of people, and it's been a really life-changing experience, just from highly attributed to joining TikTok.
That's awesome. That's so incredible. And speaking of the exposure and the distribution of your content, what's actually, and I don't know off the top of my head, but what's been your best performing video of all time?
I think it's actually currently the video where I met my current friend, he's now a friend of mine, the Joker cosplayer, the one that dresses like Heath Ledger. Mm-hmm. I'm sure anyone who follows me like knows this guy. The video is me walking around Hollywood Boulevard, where a lot of cosplayers go to just take pictures with people, and they kind of make some money, and some of them make their whole living by just dressing up, taking pictures with tourists. So one day I'm in Hollywood looking for interesting people to photograph, and I see this guy dressed up in the most amazing like Heath Ledger Joker cosplay. And he's just sipping a cup of coffee. It's really funny if you watch the video to just see him just like Joker hanging out, drinking coffee. And I walk up to him. He's with his friend Batman. And I'm just like, hey guys, like this is who I am. This is what I do. Can we do a photo shoot? And God, people love that video. It's got almost 100 million views, and he's become like a staple in my content. Like we've done a lot of collaborations after that, and I've reintroduced him to my audience a lot of times, and we've developed a friendship and we make more content together.
I think that's so powerful too, is like the reoccurring element on profiles as well. As you see a lot of these breakout creators who often have a label slapped on them because they have one breakout video. I mean, there's a lot of names that come to mind, but I think the true test of creativity and dedication is obviously, how much you're willing to thread that attention through multiple concepts. So it's smart of you, you capitalizing, whether it's a character or a thematic or structural element, and certainly bringing that along for future uploads. I think right now I would love to get into a little bit of a discussion about your creative process and the way you'll actually edit videos. So what does, the creative workflow look like from start to finish of you planning a video, whether it's scripted or it's spontaneous, and then actually uploading to TikTok? Is that like a 1 day, a 2 day process? What does that workflow look like?
Yeah. Would love to shed some light on this. So like people understand like what goes into making one of my videos that might reach, 30, 100 million people. It either starts with a planned concept, like I mentioned earlier, or me just going out there and seeing what I can create on the spot, like impromptu with a stranger. Most often these days, I will structure and plan a concept for my photo shoot. So the way that works is I do creative brainstorming, and I really obsess over like, where do creative ideas come from? And that's my first question to every creator is, where does your creativity come from? Like, where do your ideas come from? How do you think of this stuff? Because I'm really fascinated with creativity and where it comes from. So my creative process is actually to not try too hard to think of the ideas, but to let them just kind of come to me. So I find that when my mind is very clear, my creativity starts to flow. So I do some meditation at night, and I just kind of sit and like quiet my mind and just kind of observe like any ideas that might come to me. Rather than searching for them and thinking of them. Sometimes thinking too much is like it's not beneficial. It's actually better to quiet the mind and let some of these ideas come to you. So that's my creative process. I'll just kind of sit around in my bed at night and just kind of turn my mind off. And if an idea comes, I'll write it down. And it starts like that. Then I'll elaborate on the idea. I'll start to plan it in more detail. I'll work through like the logistics and the structure of the video. How do I get the watch time? How do I get more shares on this video and things like that? After I have the concept, I go out, I execute. It's usually me finding a stranger. So that's like the unknown part. So I'll go out with my girlfriend, who's my camera person, and we'll shoot the whole thing, do the best we can to execute the concept, and spend about maybe 4 to 5 hours editing the video and photos. So wow, it's quite a lot of work. It's quite a lot of work for one video.
Yeah. How many times are you hitting the streets and finding the stranger? Is that a couple times a week?
At my most during my most ambitious like growth phases, it was I would go 5 days a week. I usually walk around for 4 to 5 hours every time I go out, and your legs take a toll, like carrying a big camera bag. Like I need 2 days of rest. The most I could do is 5 days a week. But these days it's more like 2 to 3 days a week where I'll go out and shoot.
So, are there any sources online, whether it's like a publication site or something that is a big inspiration to you and where you source your ideas, or do you just like, following some of the trends? If there's concentration on Joker, for example, or, one of the latest Hollywood releases, like, does that play into your creativity at all?
I would say not a whole lot. I'm really big on, one of my philosophies around like creating content that is honest to yourself and creating your best, most effective content. I believe that the way to do that is to not rely too heavily on outside sources of inspiration. I give very unpopular advice in telling people that, be cautious with following trends. I would actually say, you're going to find your best content by not watching any TikToks, don't watch any trends, post 700 videos. And one of those 700 videos will be something unique that no one's ever seen before. That is now you're the trend, right? So it's a longer process. It's a less fast and effective process at the start, but it allows you to find what truly makes you unique and special. And so, I try to be very cautious. I don't even watch a lot of TikToks because I don't want to be too inspired by other things. I want my stuff to just come from me so that it's unique. So I can't really think of a lot of places that I try to get inspiration from. I think of Pinterest a lot for inspiring my photos and poses. So I'll use Pinterest a lot to get inspired for like how to pose people and photography inspiration. And then, I'll try to just, honestly, I think my inspiration from outside, if there is any, just comes from watching content that I really like, so that I'm not necessarily being inspired in the sense of this video got views, so let me do it that way, right? Because I think that's the wrong approach. So what I do is I watch this video because I like it, and it inspired this idea naturally, just because, I got inspired by something that I liked, and it's making me want to do something that I like rather than do it for the views. So yeah, that's kind of a jumbled thought about inspiration, but that's,
no, there's so many little good gold nuggets there, especially the idea. And I have to commend you for this. It's certainly not a popular opinion. And obviously, it's a little bit of a hot take with TikTok, which is all about, outputting oftentimes like the latest and greatest, what you see. And I often feel that there truly is this mental and creative pitfall that people find themselves in. And it's the idea of success exclusively by replication or duplication of someone else's content, right? Falling into this ocean of being a trend follower, when reality, often the biggest, and what I find like truly the most successful and genius creators are not necessarily like the trend followers, even the trend setters. It's those that just really often shut out like the chaoticness of the the For You page, even though it is, it's a blessing in many respects, and obviously it's what scales profiles at the end of the day. But limiting your consumption is absolutely key.
Like I said, it's an unpopular opinion, and I do believe in trends, and I do believe in that they're good for certain reasons, and I like to give a rule of thumb of, like, I call it the 80-20 rule, where if you want to utilize trends and other people for inspiration, try to limit that to 20% of your content. Try to keep it like 80% of things that you just want to wake up and actually do because it's fun, because you like it, and limit 20, like no more than 20% of it should be, that video went viral, I could do that, like let me do that to get some views, or here's an idea that this person did that works, so let me try that format. If it's the other way around, that's a recipe for burnout. Because if you're just looking to kind of copy and follow trends, there's no passion behind that. And what I've noticed is if you rely too heavily on just kind of doing things for views and following trends and like doing formats that work for other people, if you get trapped in that, that can easily lead to burnout, because you're not creating stuff that you enjoy. So you're not enjoying that process. But also what I've noticed is people will get an epic rise from kind of like using other people's ideas and concepts. And after they reach this peak to where it's working really, really well, but as soon as it stops working and they no longer get the validation and that good feeling of, the views coming and the content working, they shut down and they burn out, because they no longer are being fueled by views that they're getting, because it eventually will stop. You'll hit like a lull in your views. So you're no longer fueled by getting those views, and you're also not creating what you like. So you're just done. You're just burnt out. I've seen a lot of creators hit 5 million followers and just stop completely, because they built that following doing something that they weren't passionate about.
Yeah, I like that split. And I mean, you hit the nail on the head with trends as well. As often, sure, there's going to be some burnout, not just in your creative energy, but in the viral potential of something like that, because trends inherently, I mean, they're trends. It's a fad that's around for a certain duration, whether it's a week or it's maybe a cultural impact trend, like something you'd see over the summer. And they often do have a very, very short shelf life too. And one of the drawbacks of exclusively focusing solely on trends is the fact too, that especially people like yourself who have jumped on TikTok, and that's one of their, I know you already had quite a substantial following. I believe, close to 100,000 followers on Instagram before TikTok. But, TikTok is often, as it is that first major social venture for a lot of people, it is a discovery process. And by discovering yourself, that's something that, you really inherently have to infuse your own originality into, number one, to showcase your passion, and number two, to really figure out what that originality is. What I was going to ask next was kind of on the same lines of what we were talking about here. I noticed in a lot of your videos, you'll have some trending audio in the background, or some popular TikTok soundtrack that usually has, some relevance to whatever emotion you're conveying in your videos. What's your process there for researching trending audio? Like, is that something that's spontaneous? Do you, just like I mentioned, like to fit the vibe of the video, like, or is it just keeping tabs on, TikTok culture? Whatever you see on the discovery pages is kind of what you're checking the box with.
I think it's a little bit of all of that. My method for sourcing the sounds that I use in my video My videos are Spotify playlists, big source. There are Spotify playlists that tell you the viral sounds right now on TikTok specifically. And there's also just like, the top hits from today. And those are usually also like going viral on TikTok. So I rely heavily on Spotify playlists. I find the TikTok audio library and like how it shows you the popular sounds to be a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit messy. It's hard for me to navigate that. So I don't rely on trying to find my popular sounds like actually through TikTok. But I think a really interesting piece of advice for doing this is to find someone who's like in the know when it comes to music. If that's not you, if you're not a music person like me personally, find someone who is and just rely on them to be the source of like, some of your ideas for music. For me, that's my girlfriend. She knows a lot more about what's going viral when it comes to music on TikTok than I do. So I just ask her like, hey, can you help me pick a song for this video? Like, any thoughts? She'll send me some ideas. They're better than any ideas that I would have ever thought of. So
is that something that idea of, having like, I don't want to call it like, a human soundboard, but the idea of bouncing ideas off of someone, is that something that you feel like at a certain level is what you would recommend in the creative process? You've got a lot of creators who, what do they say? Like creativity and even humor and your opinions are all subjective, and not often what we think has viral potential is not what most people would vibe with. So is that something that you've also felt has played into your success on TikTok, is just having someone to bounce ideas off of? And would you consider that a necessity?
I don't think it's a necessity. I think it can help, but I think it can also hurt. And it just depends on the person that you're talking to, your relationship with them, how they react to your ideas, and like what their nature is. Like if you present an idea and they don't like it, it would be bad. It would be bad to have them discourage you on an idea that you were originally like really high on. And that's happened to me sometimes where I love this idea and I share it with someone and they're like, I don't think that's going to work. Like, no, that's kind of a dumb idea. Then you don't feel like high on your idea anymore, and you can kind of get stuck in your head. So it can not work, but I could see it working. You just have to find someone where you kind of have that relationship where you can bounce ideas, and like there's no rejection of ideas. It's open, and I don't really have someone like that where I bounce ideas around too, but I would love that. I think Mr. Beast has a team where they sit around and they bounce their ideas around. I would love that. I just haven't really, to be fair, put in the effort to like find those people that can help me with that.
Yeah. And I think, to your point about Mr. Beast, I think that's really one of the biggest leaps we're going to see in the creator economy. Is I know some of those big teams who, have got the YouTube channels with a surplus of 10 million, like they've got active applications open for a creative director, someone to actually manage and orchestrate ideas. So it's certainly, I think it's one of the next steps, and it's evolution, little milestones like that really just present a lot of confidence and affirmation that, what we're doing with TikTok and YouTube, like it's really, I don't know where we are in that entire journey of social media, but I think we're certainly far from finished. I'll tell you that. Let's talk a little bit about strategy. I know you mentioned you were an insurance actuary. I'm sure you've got some analytical insights for TikTok. So we'll start broad, and then we'll get specific here. I want to pull some questions from Instagram as well, because we got a little different inquiries. In your experience, what flagship video metrics does the algorithm really prioritize in 2021? I know you mentioned watch time as being one of those main focuses.
I would say for someone who has never created a short form video, I think the most important metric to optimize for is watch time, because that's the one that will just make or break you. If you create a video and you do something that's fundamentally wrong for a short form video, such as starting with, I always tell people, don't start with a still photo, because some people don't get that. Like if you're swiping through the For You page and every video is like live action, pictures moving, like video, and you hit them with a still photo and it's like a title of like, my video will be about this, like you're gone. Your watch time is 0, like 1 second, and that video will never go viral. So I think that the first thing to optimize for is watch time. Just always be thoughtful about, how do I make sure that people will watch the full video in its entirety? Meaning they're not going to get bored halfway and swipe away. Meaning when you start the video, they're going to get hooked and drawn into it, as opposed to just being like immediately not interested. And, an interesting statistic that I heard is that the average time spent watching a TikTok is 2 seconds. So if that's true, then, most videos are losing people's attention within 2 seconds. So it's actually very hard to even get someone to watch a 15-second video in its entirety. And people don't understand that. People go, oh, these are short videos. People will watch it till the end. They won't. Attention spans are short. You're competing against highly engaged, optimized content. So if you're not getting people to watch even 3, 4, 5 seconds of your video, you have no hopes of going viral. So I think that's the first most basic level of optimizing your content from like an engagement standpoint is watch time. Get them to watch that whole video is so important.
Do you have any go-to video hooks or like trigger molds that you'll use for capturing attention? And, like you said, the first 2 seconds, I know you had the, like you'll start with the reactions, the demonstration of the end result, and you'll show the model's reaction to the photo, or, you'll just approach people spontaneously. But are there any, I don't know, any molds or like recommendations, like little trigger hooks that you could give people for really setting the stage well early on?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually am sourcing this from a study done by Snapchat. Brilliant, really amazing in-depth study where Snapchat looked at their syndicated shows and they have data on, obviously they have the watch time data. So they took every single video, every single show on Snapchat, and they looked at what percentage of people watched the first second in completion, like literally the first second. They call it the first second drop-off rate. So if they looked at which videos will hook people for the very first second, because that's like, that's the start of the video. That's like your hook right there. And which videos just fell short and people swiped away literally in less than a second. Snapchat found that the single point in time where most people will decide to not watch a video is at 0.9 seconds. Literally in less than 1 second is when the most people will decide to swipe away a video, right? So what they found is after, looking at all the successful videos that held attention for the first second, they found some commonalities. And they found that starting a clip in mid-action is really effective at keeping people hooked for that first initial bit of your video. So that can be like someone midair, like about to slam dunk, like an action, like they made it very clear to not start your video before the action starts. So for example, if someone's holding a basketball and they're about to slam dunk, you would not want to start the video with them holding the basketball before they start to run and jump. You would want to literally start it while they're going in for the slam dunk, right? So start in the middle of the action happening will really increase that hook completion rate. And they also found something really interesting, which was using bright colors and interesting patterns is also a great way to just get people mesmerized and hooked on that video. So they showed an example of like a Mr. Beast video where he's kind of laying back and like there's like a pool full of Legos and it's just so colorful and vibrant. They showed examples of like a fish bowl where someone had a paintbrush with paint on it. And when they dipped the paintbrush into the fish bowl, the colors just spread into this like magical combination of colors. But another great way is to simply start with a strong headline. Like the headline of your videos, what the text that you put in the first 1 to 3 seconds. And if it's a really interesting headline, people are going to want to watch the video to see what you're promising them. So an example would be, you can make a big promise like, here's how I make $10,000 a day as a TikTok creator. If there's a nice headline, that's a great way to hook people too. For me, my hook is I'm walking up to someone with my camera, complete stranger. So I kind of fall into that first category of like something happening, something interesting happening.
I'm curious, are you a big fan of making use of the TikTok features at all, like the duet feature, the voiceover, anything like that? I know that's not a huge factor in the way you structure your entire profile, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on those?
I don't use those features because I have sort of like a format that really is hard to incorporate, like a duet. I use the voiceover sometimes, but I don't really use the reply to comment feature. I think it's a great tool for creativity, but it's kind of out of my like wheelhouse. I just, I don't find a way to like organically incorporate like duets and replying to comments into my content. So I can't speak too much on those.
What about the live stream feature at all?
I rarely go live, and that's something that I really need to work on because I hear time and time again about people explaining the benefits of going live. And it's difficult for me. Like, I don't really like talking to my phone where there's no one on the other. I guess you can invite people to go live with you now. So that might help, but I don't really go live, but that's at my fault. Like I really think people should live stream often.
Yeah, there's a couple tools now that are out there, like multi-hosting video platforms that allow you to simultaneously stream on TikTok as well as Instagram. So I know a lot of people are kind of checking the, killing two birds with one stone there. I was curious as well. So back to the idea of video metrics that you notice as staple factors and why certain videos do well and others maybe don't meet expectations. Is there an optimal video duration, like a video length that you notice tends to perform best, or is it just kind of whatever fits the the story that you're trying to paint there, or the experience?
Do you mean for content in general, or like specifically my content?
Yeah, for your content on TikTok, is there an average video length that you always like to shoot for?
Yeah, I go for the full 60 seconds because in my eyes, if you can get a higher watch time, to me, that signals to TikTok that you can keep someone on their app for engaged for longer. So if I do a 5-second video and I get that full completion rate, maybe even a little higher, and I get people locked on my video for 7 seconds. And TikTok also has the opportunity to show another video where it's a 60-second video of mine, and I've hooked them for a watch time of 40 seconds. I feel like it's going to prioritize the video that just keeps them on the app longer. There's no general rule about what video length is better because there's always a trade-off. A longer video will have longer watch time because it's longer, right? But the completion rate will be lower. It's much more difficult to get someone to watch a 60-second video than it is to watch a 5-second video. So with the shorter video, it's easier for them to complete the whole thing, which TikTok is factoring in, but the watch time's lower because it's a shorter video. It's hard. It's going to be damn near impossible to get a 60-second watch time on a 5-second video. They'd have to watch the video like, a whole bunch, like 10 times. There's a trade-off there, and TikTok is balancing those two. So I guess the best video would be a 60-second video with the highest completion rate ever. That people watch on average 3 times, but that's like impossible. So there's a trade-off. So creators will find that, certain video lengths just work better for them. And, I would never tell someone like, make all your videos 15 seconds because that's the best length for TikTok. It just depends. It depends on your content. It depends on your ability to keep someone engaged for longer, for like 60 seconds or more. But yeah, if you want me to elaborate on like those other metrics, I found that like are really playing the main drivers of my TikTok, I can talk more about that.
Yeah, no, we're not really interested in those here. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, Alex. Yeah, no, I'm all ears. Yeah, please expand.
So one of the things that I noticed by accident and is the single metric that I optimize for are actually profile visits. A profile visit occurs when someone watches your video on their For You page or even on their following tab, and they visit your profile directly from that video. That's a metric that TikTok is tracking. Unfortunately, it's not a metric that's shown in your video insights. So in the way that your watch time is shown in your insights, your comments, your shares, the percentage of people that completed your video, all these other insights are available per video, but profile visits are not. So it's a hidden metric, but you can track it.
Is that through like the API interception? Because we've got a couple of people, we're working on a few studies with that, and there is a way to see that. And there's a whole lot of other metrics as well, like shares are breaking down into like the individual mediums that the content is distributed on, whether someone actually downloads the video. But yeah, no, go on. I'm super curious whether you share it on here or we follow up afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I would love access to that because I was finding a proxy for profile visits, and the way that I do that is by going to your page insights. So you've got your video analytics, which show your watch time for a single video, but then you have your page analytics, which show how many video views did you get that day, how many profile visits did you get that day. So you can actually match up the amount of profile visits you got during the day. And I usually do also the next day that I posted a video. So I kind of am estimating the amount of profile visits that I got in that way for each video. And I'm tracking like the ratio of profile visits to views. So for example, if I post a video and 10 people see it, if I can get 5 of those people to visit my profile from seeing that video on their For You page, as opposed to 1 person out of 10 people visiting my profile, the video that got half of the people to go onto your profile is going to significantly outperform the one that only got 1 person to visit your profile. So I did a study where I took all my videos and I looked at what was that ratio of profile visits to views. And I wanted to see which metric correlated most to my video views. So I looked at all the metrics and I ranked all my videos from most viewed to least viewed. And I tried to see, is there one like metric that can best predict a successful video? And I found that it was that ratio of profile visits to views, more so than shares, more so than watch time. Watch time was also really correlated with video views. So like higher watch time I found made my videos more viral. The really, really cool and amazing thing is if you can get people to visit your profile, that's how you get followers. That's why I have so many followers, is because I get people to visit my profile. And when they're on my profile, that beautiful follow button is right there for them to click. A lot of people deliver all the goods in an individual TikTok. They show them the result. They don't leave the person with any reason to follow them unless they just like, wow, yeah, I feel like following them. That was a great video. Most oftentimes people will watch the video, they'll love it, they'll like it, they'll comment, they'll share it. They'll move on to the next one. They're not gonna feel heavily incentivized to like go to your profile, click the follow button. My ultimate TikTok hack, which got me to 18 million followers, was by getting people to visit my profile and incentivizing them to follow me to see the next video in my video series.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you now, you're spot on it. It's funny too how, the more you just look at social media in general, the more you realize that it's really just the same copy and paste metrics for identifying true interest in content. Like YouTube, Mr. Beast will say it's the watch time and like, the CTR, the click-through rate for a thumbnail. For you, TikTok, it seems to be the same thing. Like we'd call it maybe the swipe through rate, right? How many conversions you're getting to your profile, so to speak, whether or not those people end up following you, I think is a really, really good metrics. That makes sense why TikTok would prioritize that, because it's a much better demonstration and it's much more indicative of someone having true interest in a video versus just, clicking maybe the superficial like metrics or the comments, which, by the way, a lot of us know in the creative community, like you can buy hundreds of thousands of those on a video for relatively inexpensive. So why does it make sense to place a whole lot of place the be and all factor there?
A really interesting thing to consider is that two videos with literally equal engagement, same likes, same watch time, same everything, can be drastically different in views. And this is something that a lot of people don't think about. And it comes down to, what is the available audience for that video? How many people would be interested in what's in the content, right? Like, for example, my content can be shown to quite a large percentage of just general human beings where they will be interested in it because it's evergreen content, right? In contrast to that, if I made a video that was very targeted to a very specific niche audience, like here's how to create a Facebook ad for your tech company, right? That's a very small audience. So even if their metrics outperform mine, they got better like ratio, better share ratio, the amount of people that would be interested in that content is so significantly smaller that it doesn't matter if they blow me out of the water in their engagement. I will reach more people because my content has a broader appeal. So I always tell people, one of the really key aspects to making viral content is to have mass appeal. And I call it universality. Create a video that has universal appeal. Make sure that anyone could see it. Your grandma can watch it and they'll enjoy it. Your little sister can watch it and she'll enjoy it. A random person that you show on the subway can watch that video and enjoy it, right? If your video doesn't have that broad mass appeal, you're making it so much more difficult to go viral, because that's what a viral is. It has this mass, like it appeals to the masses, right? So having that universality aspect to your content, making sure that just about anyone can enjoy it, is a key factor to going viral.
Do you feel as well as, because I've often talked about this on YouTube, is, the idea of universality is certainly what we'd often call culture content, right? It's something that can have that mass appeal like you were talking about. Then on the other hand, you have what we talk about as specificity, getting very, very specific in your video, right, and structuring it for a very niched audience for the purpose of, really targeting a specific demographic of people. Do you feel like if someone is just starting out on TikTok, like should you have a balance between those two ideas, or should you start very, very maybe hyper targeted with a particular audience, to build up that core fan base and then kind of branch out from there?
I think that's a good strategy. I would say the way that I would approach it would be try to avoid going viral for something that is unrelated to your content, because that happens a lot. Like people will join TikTok with the intention of being known for like XYZ thing. Instead of posting content about XYZ thing, they're posting content about ABC thing, like their dog, something cute that their dog did, right? And if that goes viral, now they have a following of people that followed you for something that's completely different. So you might shoot yourself in the foot that way. The most important thing to consider is that don't go viral for something that's completely unrelated to what you're trying to build your page about. But in terms of like, should you be targeted or should you try to go broad? I really don't know. I think it just depends. I think there's pluses and minuses to having a targeted audience. Having a target audience is really, really good for generating like paying customers for some product you have that meets the needs of, you know, that targeted audience. For me though, I have such a broad audience and such a big following that like big brands like, you know, Samsung and brands that appeal to like mass amounts of people, you know, I'm a good fit for those brands.
What are your thoughts on cross-pollination? This was by far the most common question we got on Instagram when I prefaced this interview. Are there any recommendations that you have for or did have for building your Instagram following from, you know, 100,000 to, you know, what it's at right now, 1.2 million? I mean, are you a advocate of shouting out you know, social profiles in your actual videos, or is, I don't know, maybe there's another strategy that you use, or maybe just keep it organic?
I'm gonna shake it up a little when it comes to like cross-pollination. I believe that the best way currently to grow, like to be omnipresent, to grow on like all these different platforms, is to repurpose your content. This is something that people are not doing. If you have any TikTok videos on your page right now, and you have not taken those videos and put them on Instagram Reels, put them on YouTube Shorts, put them on Snapchat Spotlight, upload them to Facebook, then you are sacrificing so much growth that you deserve because you created the content already. So my head doesn't go, how do I use my TikTok to get people to cross-platform and go onto Instagram, YouTube? There are strategies for that, but I think people miss the easy mark and just download all your videos, which you can do through TikTok. A lot of people don't know that you can request a data download file from the TikTok app itself, get all your videos without the watermark with one click of a button. Now you've got a ton of content that you can post on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Snapchat Spotlight, which all have the same for you style algorithm where you can go viral without having a lot of followers. So that's how I blew up my Instagram. I took all my TikTok videos, I put them on Reels, and it grew, like I grew 300K in 1 month on Instagram just from my Reels, just from old TikTok content. So I think a lot of people need to do that first. And then if you want to get into more other tactics, you know, try a simple one, like end your video with a cliffhanger. And in order for them to see the result, they have to go to another platform. So
classic teaser.
Yeah. Start with a big promise. Don't deliver at the end. Tell them, hey, results on my Instagram, results on my YouTube.
Are you an advocate of YouTube Shorts at all for another medium of distribution? I know there's some breakout stories like, you know, Jake Fellman, who grew 5 million subscribers in 3-4 months on YouTube with his Among Us 3D animations. Have you tried that at all? Is that another way to cross-pollinate audiences, so to speak?
100%. I'll start by saying, if you're a content creator that is sticking to one platform, you are missing out on opportunities. If you are by being on multiple platforms, you're allowing yourself access to more opportunities. There are opportunities on YouTube that are not available on TikTok or Instagram. There are opportunities on Instagram that are not available on TikTok and YouTube, like the ability to monetize with IGTV videos. You can't do that on TikTok or YouTube. It's an extra source of revenue. It's an extra source of exposure. Someone can find your video on YouTube Shorts if you put it there. But if you hadn't put it there, they might have never seen it on TikTok or Instagram. So you're allowing yourself more exposure. You're allowing more people to find you and access you and reach out to you for deals, for opportunities. And each platform has their own monetization system. If you have a following on TikTok and Instagram and a brand reaches out, well, guess what? If you just had TikTok, your rate would be what, like, let's say, I don't know what your rate would be. You'd have some rate. But if you have an Instagram Reels with an Instagram account with a large following too, you can double your rate and have and post on both platforms. So by being on all these platforms, it's a really good idea. So this means that, yes, I'm really, really amped on YouTube Shorts. I think it's a great way to grow a YouTube following, which typically, as I'm sure you know, is really difficult. It's hard to make long form videos, and it's hard to grow a YouTube following. Like, a lot of people watch your videos and they don't subscribe. It's difficult. And YouTube Shorts just allows you another opportunity to hack growth in the same way that Jake Fellman did, by using like that crazy short form algorithm that just gives you more exposure than you probably deserve with however many followers you have.
Any insights or any thoughts on how creators can effectively monetize it all? I know this is one of the, in the creative community at large, it's subjectively agreed it's one of the biggest shortcomings of TikTok is, the creator fund didn't yield the expectations that people had, or even things like, I know like the live gifts is now big, and I saw you've got that enabled on your profile. But obviously you don't have to get into any specific financials here, but at someone at your level that has, coming up on 20 million followers here in the next month or so, what are the ways that you're monetizing your influence?
So first and foremost, like primarily through brand deals, that's the main source. Second, I have a Snapchat syndicated show, which is essentially a 3-minute short form video which earns ad revenue in the same way that a YouTube video earns ad revenue. So it's those are the two main sources: brand deals and ad revenue from the Snapchat show. Then you have like TikTok Creator Fund and other smaller sources, but the brand deals and the Snapchat show earn me far more than like the TikTok Creator Fund or anything. But for a creator that's looking for brand deals, it's extremely important to create brand friendly content. Your content matters. If you want to attract brands, it's not enough to just have a big following. It's like, what are you posting? Is your content going to make sense for the brands that you want to work with? My philosophy has always been grow a bigger following because your rate will increase. Really simple strategy. So the more viral I go, the bigger the following that I build, the more that I am worth and can charge to a brand, as long as my content is brand friendly.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a blessing and curse with that as well, as if you have, like you were talking about earlier, a more targeted audience, often you can't actually charge a higher rate because there's a better creator audience relationship often established there versus someone who just has exclusively that mass appeal. Sure, you certainly be, raking in the cash just by the sheer quantity of what you have. And the fact that, you'll be working with some big brands out there, Tide, Mercedes, Samsung, but, obviously, there's going to be some sacrifices you make in that pursuit.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole nother approach, is if you want to work with brands that have a more like specific audience, then other things become more important than just followers. Like, what's your audience? Does your audience match the target audience of the brand? Like, if you're looking to work with, like a Lululemon brand, then it matters that mostly girls follow you, that they're a certain age, that they're, located in the US, right? Your demographics matter in that case. So yeah, there is a trade-off to having like a bigger audience. You lose the ability to be targeted in your audience.
For anyone who's hesitant about getting started on TikTok, or for, anyone who's been struggling on the platform, what in your opinion are the biggest pitfalls that people fall into? And are there any pieces of advice that you would give people, core staples to focus on in the TikTok journey?
Core staple is to do two things. And if you do these two things, I promise you it'll work out. And I always tell people, if I fail to deliver this promise, you can punch me in the face. So this is called the 702 video rule. Inspired by my friend Tiago, who is now a famous artist that's touring with some of the biggest names in the country, who started making videos in his basement on TikTok, right? It took him 702 videos for one to go viral. 702. If he had given up after 700 videos, he wouldn't have just performed at the Hive Festival on stage, right? So the number one thing that I would say to promise a creator that it will work out for them is to do two things: to stay consistent and to not give up, and to post 702 videos. I swear to God, post 702. But the thing that you have to marry that with is staying true to what you love. Because if you don't do that, you will not make it to 702 videos. You will get burnt out. So you have to combine those two things. You have to stay true to what you love, and you have to keep going until something happens. If you do nothing but that, it will work out. I'm just so sure of that.
I love that. Those are such hand in glove ideas. And of course, 702 videos, guys. That's probably the worst case scenario here. Of course,
Yeah.
it's more than likely that you'll achieve some sort of a breakout video, relatively, between 50 to 200 videos. Okay, so two other questions here. What's your favorite video to date on your profile? I mean, you've got quite a few videos uploaded. Is there one that really stands out to you as, I don't know, maybe you thoroughly enjoyed the creative process, or it had a unforeseen impact or anything like that?
I would say, without giving it too much thought, I like the video where me and Joker found his Harley Quinn. We turned a stranger into Harley Quinn. And that was a lot of fun for me. I just love the structure of that video. I love that it's an elevated version of my typical content, because you can see some rejections. We have the Joker kind of narrating in between and saying these like funny lines. It's more interactive. I shot it with like my actual camera as opposed to iPhone, so the quality is really nice. And I thought the concept was great. And the result was amazing. That's probably my favorite currently.
Speaking of which, I just want to touch upon something you said there. Have you noticed a difference at all between filming with mobile or filming with DSLR?
Yes, I have. Although the change didn't come from the switch from phone to camera, but rather when I did that switch, I changed the format slightly, which lost my ability to reach non-English speaking territories. And I didn't actually realize how impactful that was to my views. So when I went from my typical format can be watched by someone who doesn't speak English and they can still understand what's going on. Whereas my new format, when I started shooting with my high def camera, I actually changed another part of my format too, where there's a lot more speaking involved. And if you don't speak English, you won't understand what the video is about. So I lost my international audience, and that really impacted my views. So whereas I was reaching the Philippines a lot and just other countries where English isn't their first language, they're not on I didn't reach those audience with my new format. So my views really took a dip for that reason. And it made me realize like how important like universality is, like even making it a video that people can watch without understanding your language and still enjoy. Like Khaby Lame's a great example. Anyone in the world can watch a Khaby Lame video and understand the humor behind it, which is why he's able to reach hundreds of millions of people on his views. So I learned that, which was really interesting. So I think it has improved my content, but if I remove that like language barrier, then I think it'll be even more successful.
What's really your long-term goal with TikTok? I mean, is there anything from like a culture perspective or, a community that you're trying to create or anything like that that's, tentatively in the works?
Long-term for TikTok, I would like to continue to reach a bigger audience, and I would like to start focusing more on like the message and the impact that my content leaves and the legacy behind it all. I think of Humans of New York a lot and how that project became just really impactful and appreciated by a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. So, I would like to continue to work on the message behind my content. And also I would love to leverage TikTok and the ability to reach people to land opportunities outside of it. Having my own Netflix show is a big goal of mine currently. So just showcasing my storytelling, just what I do, I hope will eventually catch the eye of someone who can help me with that.
How about any features or additions that you would like to see added to TikTok at all? I always like to ask this question because I'm curious how, just in conversations with different TikTok employees or other creators as well, like how can the platform, in your opinion, as someone who's been on there for a while and had success, be improved?
I know that TikTok is beta testing stories, which is really exciting. I want that. Yeah. I would love to have stories, because stories allows you to build community in a way that I feel like a regular video a regular post doesn't quite do as well, because a post generally requires more effort and thoughtfulness than like making a story, right? So you're kind of limited in your touch points with your audience by having just TikTok video posts being the only way you can kind of interact with them. So by opening up stories, it's going to be a great way to communicate with the audience better, to build community, and also can lead to some really interesting like monetary opportunities as well, because you can sell a story post to a brand now in addition to a main feed post. You can link to if they allow linking outside of websites, you can link to your product page or your service page and start, selling I can sell my presets, things like that. So stories would be a really huge feature.
Well, awesome, Alex. I really do appreciate you coming on. I've been following you for a while, so it was an absolute thrill of a day when you decided to reach out. Yeah, there's been such a valuable discussion here, and I'm going to link for everyone's listening in right now. I'll link all Alex's socials below. If you are open for coaching, I'll drop the link there. And I know the Snapchat study, I'm going to have to hit you up on that. I'll read through that and I'll link that below. So thanks so much for coming on, and we'll certainly stay in contact.
Yeah, sounds good, man.